How do you make sense of the world around you? How do you take the swirl of colors, shapes, and sounds hitting your senses and perceive meaningful objects and experiences? This question fascinated psychologists in the early 1900s and led to the birth of Gestalt theory. The Gestaltists proposed that we don't just passively receive sensations, we actively organize them into coherent patterns and meaningful wholes. Principles like figure ground, closure, continuity, and similarity describe the rules our minds follow to connect sensory dots into significant objects and experiences. For example, figure ground organization explains how we segment our visual field into key figures against a background setting. Even when part of an image is missing or obscured, the principle of closure says we fill in the gaps to perceive a complete picture, and elements that are similar or flow continuously are grouped together following Gestalt principles. The Gestalt laws revealed that perception isn't just a piecemeal process. There are organizing forces at work, shaping what we see and hear into meaningful wholes. The pioneers of Gestalt theory opened our eyes to how context impacts perception. However, later psychologists realized that while Gestalt principles describe useful tendencies, they do not tell the whole story. The principles imply our minds impose order and simplicity on sensory chaos, but reality is often more complex. For instance, what we see as figure versus ground can shift depending on perspective and interest. The principle of closure describes how we fill in gaps, but sometimes we make questionable assumptions this way. And factors like context can shape when elements group by proximity or similarity. In other words, the Gestalt laws oversimplify perception. They suggest universal forces that organize sensations into coherent objects and patterns. But perception is more nuanced and subjective than these principles convey. Rather than fixed laws, today most psychologists see Gestalt principles as general heuristics or models for how we tend to perceive. They describe perceptual tendencies worth noting, but cannot be imposed as inviolable laws across every unique situation. The Gestalt school opened our eyes to key patterns in perception by proposing principles like figure ground, closure, and continuity. Their ideas revealed that meaningful wholes emerge from interactions between parts and surroundings. But later advances showed perception to be multifaceted. There are no one-size-fits-all laws. To explore these ideas further, check out our book, The Illusion of Order, a critical look at Gestalt perception, linked in the video description below. It provides a deep yet accessible dive into the principles proposed by Gestalt psychology and the contemporary critiques and expansions of this seminal theory. Understanding these pioneering concepts will give you new insight into why you perceive the world the way you do.